This podcast was a Radio Mike original production. Head to radiomike.com.au to check out all our other content, stay up to date at radio.mike on Instagram, and get in touch, radiomikepod@gmail.com. Remember, you have to project your voice.
Projecting.
All right, everyone, welcome to episode 4 of the World Tour Travel Diary bonus podcast. Claire is here. Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for being part of the show.
No worries.
And these, as you know, were supposed to happen while on our holiday. However, we ran out of time and got sick, as you would have heard in the last episode. How have you been? Have you been getting any feedback from anyone about the show?
Yeah, everyone's saying I'm really good.
Way too quiet. Way too quiet.
Okay, I'll be better.
No, you have to speak like you have to project your voice. Like I'm looking at the sound waves. I can barely hear you.
What am I looking at?
The sound waves on the computer.
Which part of the screen?
Well, you see how it's like mine are really big and yours are like you can't even see?
Nah, I don't have my glasses on.
Okay. So we should start this one by just addressing something that came up on the last episode. Gastro bars. Because, well, do you have anything to say about that?
Well, yes. I have since learned that a gastro is in fact a real thing when talking about a pub. So I was wrong. Sorry.
Yeah, I was right. Whatever. Who cares about that really?
You can.
But a gastro is a thing, and I was mocked. I was made a fool of, but here we are in reality land.
Whatever. No biggie.
So we pick up the trip. I think, were we at the airport about to head to Paris last time we spoke?
Yeah.
Sorry, we've spoken in real life. Me and Claire have spoken in real life. We don't just do this podcast and then not talk until we do the next one. But yeah, we were doing that.
Yes.
And
We're delayed for ages. No.
Did we say that?
Yeah.
You need to hold the mic to your mouth. You
Sorry.
can't hold it to your chest because then the sound's not coming into the microphone. Okay. So you're speaking
All right.
like this.
Yes, I get it.
You have to speak like this.
Okay.
So we're at the airport in Mallorca. It's like delayed 5 hours. We end up landing in Paris at like, I don't even remember now, like 8:30?
Yeah, something like that.
And we line up at the taxi rank.
Wait, but do you remember my ears?
I think we talked about that. Your
yeah.
ears popped and you were like really in pain.
I was deaf. I couldn't
but
hear
you were
anything.
in pain though. Could you not hear anything? I don't remember that.
I was like fully deaf in one ear for like the whole rest of that day in Paris.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's annoying for you. That was
Yes.
fine for me. And then we got off the plane and remember we were talking to those people from Indonesia?
Yeah.
They were behind us because we were waiting for a cab and it took ages. And we were exhausted. Claire was sick. Then we got in our taxi. And this is possibly like one of my favourite parts of the whole trip. Sorry, just clearing my throat. We got in this taxi and I said, can we go to this hotel that we were staying at? I just said the name of the hotel. And the guy who like didn't speak English really was like, huh? And I was like, oh, can we go to this hotel, this address? He looked so confused. Don't you reckon he was just like, like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, like he's never been to Paris before. He had no idea where he was going.
Yeah. And so I gave him the address and I still remember the address. It was 22 Cell Street.
Roussel.
Yeah, well, it was 22 Rue Cell, which is Cell Street, Paris, right?
Yeah.
And this is one of the funniest moments of the trip because the guy had like a GPS nav thing. Was it? Oh no, it was just his phone. It was just he was just using Google Maps and he was trying to search the address with his voice. So I guess 22 in French is rendezvous, right? And so he presses the microphone. We're sitting in the back and he's just like, rendezvous, Rue Celle, Paris. And nothing happened. Like the thing didn't like pick up his voice. Keep in mind, like we're not moving. You can just type the address in, but then he tries again. Rendezvous, Rue Celle, Paris. Nothing. And then I was like, oh, it's just near this. And but before I could even finish, he's like, rendezvous, rue, celle, party. And like, for whatever reason, Google Maps is just not picking it up. And me and Claire are just like watching him. He's getting angry at his phone. And we just feel like.
He was like shaking his fists like.
He was like, ma, rendezvous, rue, celle, party. And me and Claire were just like, I was looking at Claire like, just fucking type it in. What are you doing? Do you know you can type it in? And like, I don't even know if he ended up getting it or not.
Yeah, I can't remember what happened, but we got to the hotel.
Yeah.
Eventually.
So we do that and he drives us to the hotel and we get to the hotel. And this is probably, and I feel bad because we've now shared the address so people can back reference it, but who cares? Probably the worst hotel we stayed at and the worst experience of the entire trip.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
Okay. So there was this guy at the front. We check in and you were really sick. It's like 9:30. It's like this crappy old French hotel. There's the lift can only fit one person in it with our luggage, so we had to go up separately. The room was tiny and cramped. And why don't you explain what your experience was next?
Okay, so I was feeling really rubbish. I was like, Mike, I'm just going to have a shower and then we'll go to bed. Mike was like, cool, I'll go and get us some water and something to eat.
Yeah, because we hadn't eaten.
And I'll be back here in like 20 minutes. So Mike leaves, I go have a shower. And I was not in the shower for very long. Just a quick shower.
And you were deaf
I couldn't hear anything. Yeah. I was just feeling really rubbish. Anyway, turn off the shower and I step out of the shower into like a big puddle of water. I was like, oh God, what's happened? And I looked down, the shower hadn't been draining at all. So the like shower recess thing had filled up and overflowed onto the like rest of the bathroom tiles.
And into the bedroom, which...
Yeah, then I opened the door that went out into the main part of the room.
And the water just erupted like
there was
like a tsunami.
The carpet was all like
of water.
That's not what happened. But the carpet was like soaked, like saturated.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then I panicked and messaged you just being like, I don't know what happened, but the room's like
flooded.
I've ruined everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to do, so I just stood there sadly
and so
until
Mike
Mike came back.
I came up, the room was like completely soaked, which was complete bullshit. And also, I like adding this in, but the power outlet on the wall wasn't working, so we couldn't like charge our phones on it. And I was just like, this is like, because we had to pay the guy, like we paid the guy like however much money we were paying to stay there. I'm like, this is stupid. What the hell? So I went downstairs and I was like, hey, the bathroom's flooded. Is there any chance, like, can we move to a different room? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, like, there's no other rooms available. Like, all this, like, shit. And he's like, how did it flood? And I'm like, I don't know. Claire was just having a shower and the bathroom didn't drain and it's flooded. And he's like, that's weird. That's weird. And I'm like, no, it's not. You know this probably happens all the time here because we read Google reviews later and people were like, yeah, the plumbing's really bad and the showers don't drain and stuff. And so, you know, the room was flooded. There was still water in the shower, like, recess thing. Like, it hadn't even drained yet. And he's like, oh, hang on a sec. And he went out the back of the hotel and, like, brought back a plunger. And he's like, here you go. I'm like, fuck? You want me to, like, go and plunge this and, like, that's your solution is, like, give me a plunger. Like, and then I was just like, hey, I think, you know, you've got to change our room. He's like, yeah, there's no room available. I was like, okay, well, like, what are we paying for? Because, like, our room's flooded. And then he, like, he like, tried to, like, almost make it like it was our fault. Like, he said about you, like, oh, why didn't she notice the water was overflowing? And then he came up and saw your clothes on the bathroom floor, which were soaked because you had left your pajamas on the floor to change into them after the shower.
Yeah.
And then he saw your soaking pajamas. He's like, oh, were you trying to wash your clothes in here? We were like, no, they were on the floor because we were like, because you were going to change into them after. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really bad.
And then we were just like really angry and we were like, we got to get out of it. We got to leave this dump. We were like pretty pissed off.
Yeah.
And it was smelly.
You like walked back up after you were like, I'm going to go down and talk to him. Like, we have to move rooms, blah, blah, blah. I was like expecting you to walk back into the room being like, all right, we're just going to move to this other room. And you walk back in holding a plunger. He's like, what?
Because I think I went back up being like, oh yeah. And then I was like, wait a second. No, it's like 10:30. Why do I have this plunge? Like, what the fuck?
And then we were both just like angrily looking at other hotels in the area being like, should we go now? Let's just leave
Let's
this
just
place.
leave. And I said, like, give us our money back. Like, what are we paying for if like, you know. Anyway, wake up the next morning and we had breakfast and the guy said like the breakfast, okay, we've both we've both differently interpreted what he said. I thought he said the breakfast, you don't want to miss it, right?
Yeah.
Or like you don't want to miss this breakfast. Anyway.
I thought that he was saying like, because I said,
because his English wasn't perfect.
What time is the breakfast? And he was like, oh, it's between 7 and 10. Like, you can't miss it. Like, I think that's when he said,
yeah, like you won't sleep through it.
You won't miss it.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I think he said you don't want to miss it, as in it's so good, like you don't want to miss this. Anyway, we get there in the morning. Okay, and keeping in mind, like in Lisbon, I still maintain the best breakfast was Lisbon, where we were just staying in an Ibis, which is like a cheap hotel. It was like Portuguese tarts, cereal, eggs, cured meats, just
pancakes.
Pancakes with Nutella, like unlimited pancakes with Nutella. Oh man, that was so good.
Mallorca's breakfast was
and then Mallorca's
really
breakfast
good.
was just buffet
I reckon
breakfast.
that was better.
Nah, the pancakes and the Portuguese tarts were better.
The waffles.
I didn't like the waffles that much. I prefer pancakes.
Okay.
But that's all right. And so that's what we were used to. We come down. The breakfast is bread and butter and like some moldy bananas or like some gross bananas. And like, I don't even think they had coffee.
Yeah, maybe not.
There
actually.
wasn't even
I don't think they did.
Yeah, there wasn't even an egg. Like it wasn't even a hot breakfast. It was like, and we paid for this breakfast. Like, what the fuck did we pay for? Like bread and butter and orange juice.
Yeah.
Like, what?
And a gross banana that
And a gross
opened
banana
and I didn't eat.
with like a mushy brown bit. So
the whole thing was mushy brown bit.
And then we spoke to like, there was a different woman there and we were like, hey, like, our room was flooded. And she was like, oh yeah, like we'll upgrade you to this like this
superior room.
Like we'll put you upstairs. So when you come back, we'll have it ready for you. So we go up. When we came back, we went to this other room and it was like 5 centimeters wider.
But it was superior.
It was nicer.
Because it had a functioning shower.
It had a functioning shower, yeah. But it was a horrible first night. And the first day it was pouring rain in France, in Paris.
It was very wet.
And it was cold and it was shit. And we like walked somewhere and we were like, what are we going to do in this rain? We just were walking for a bit. Then we got on a bus to the Louvre and we were standing, we basically were like, you were really sick. You were so out of it. And I could see, I was like, maybe we just go back to the hotel, but we couldn't because we didn't have a room.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, why don't we go into the Louvre? At least then it's like, it's
dry.
It's dry and we can just walk around and sit down, maybe have a coffee and stuff. So why don't you explain what we did next?
So we got there. We saw these people like a pretty long line, but we were like, it's okay. We've got our umbrella. Like we'll stand there in our umbrella.
And if you haven't been, like the outside of the Louvre is just this like big open space. It's got that like pyramid. Yeah. If you've probably seen it, the pyramid, and it's like a big open courtyard with no cover. So everyone was holding umbrellas.
And then so we're lined up for maybe half an hour, 45 minutes?
Half an hour to 45, yeah.
Finally, we got like up towards the front of the line. The guy was like, tickets? We were like, oh, we don't have any yet.
Because there were no signs and there were 2 lines. So we just were like, oh, I guess that they're just both lines to get in.
Yeah. Anyway, he was like, oh, no, this is the one for people that already have tickets. You need to be over in that line. And we looked at the other line and it was like longer than the one that we had started in. We were like, nah.
We were like, nah, fuck this. Because we had already lined up for 45 minutes.
In the rain.
In the rain.
Just cold and wet.
And there's all these like people who are like trying to sell umbrellas, remember? Like all these like grifters being like, umbrella. They came up to us and were like, umbrella. And I was just like we were underneath an umbrella and I just said, no, we've got an umbrella. Is that not as funny as I think it is?
Yeah,
Don't you think it was just funny? He's like, umbrella? No, you can see that we have one. Like, why would we buy one off you? We literally already have one. And so then like I'm sorry, but you were like, so over life at this point.
Yeah.
Like
I was not feeling good. Yeah, it was not. And then I just remember you like looked at me and you're like, did you want to line up again? And I was just like, no.
No, I didn't want to line up again.
So then we like looked around and there was one of the hop on,
hop off buses. Yeah.
Sorry, I can't speak. So we were like, oh, at least that's like, we can just sit in a bus and at least we're like seeing the sights.
Yeah. So we paid to get on the bus and the guy gave us a discount, which was actually pretty nice for 2 days.
Yeah, that's
because I was like, at least if we get 2 days, we could do this tomorrow as well if it's still raining. And the hop on, hop off buses just drive you around the city in in a big circle. Like they're just going around to big sites in a circle and you can get on and there's another bus in like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And so they take you through and there's like a little audio tour. So you drive up to like the Arc de Triomphe and then the Eiffel Tower and everything like that. And the other thing about Paris that we found while we were there is that like all of the traffic and like the driving is insane. Like people just drive at each other, don't you reckon? So many just like beeping and sudden stops and the roundabouts have like 4 lanes.
Yeah, that was chaos.
And we were like, how does this roundabout even work?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really scary.
Yeah, it was funny. But I thought that was all right. Like kind of, I think because I was sick and wet and cold, I was like, at least this I can, it was fine for like how shit we were feeling.
No, it was good, but because we had been in the rain all day, I was soaking wet at this point and my clothes weren't drying, my shoes, like my socks were wet, everything was wet. So I was sort of just cold, wet and like not having fun. And then I think we must have, we went to not to the Eiffel Tower, but like to this sort of viewing point of the Eiffel Tower, looked at it, took some photos there. And it's really incredible seeing that because I've never been there before. Like it's incredible seeing that for the first time. And the Arc de Triomphe I thought was really, you like drive through it and everything. And I don't remember many of the other stops there.
Like drove up the Champs-Élysées.
Right.
Can't remember.
Yeah.
I don't know. But do you remember then after we got off, we went to that restaurant for lunch and we got the French onion soup. It was so good.
Yes. And French onion soup and coffee. I got a coffee there. It's a great mix, soup and coffee. But I remember we were like, where we were hungry and we were just like, we need like soup, something warm. Like that's how bad it was. And it was just, it was still cold. And then after that we went to the hotel.
Yeah.
And did we do anything that day?
I think we slept, or I slept at least, for like a few hours.
Yeah. And I was worried at this point. I was like, I think we need to like go to a doctor because you were not well.
Yeah, you were really worried. That was cute.
Yeah.
But then we went to the Eiffel Tower that night.
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
We did not go that night.
Yes, we did.
No. Didn't we have it booked? We had already booked it and it was not for the first night.
It was.
Oh, yeah, it was because we got there on a Thursday and then we went on Friday. Yeah. Oh, so we went that night.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is another little story about the Eiffel Tower. So we walk down and it's actually like, I didn't really realize this, but it's all like parks and stuff in that area. It's a really beautiful walk, like all the way, and you see the tower and you just walk up. Anyone who's been there would know. You've been before, right? So we went there, like we're just walking around, really beautiful sights and stuff. And then we had booked tickets to get up, and it's like I don't know how much it was. It's not super expensive, but it's cheaper if you take the stairs. And like, I guess I just always thought like no one like takes the stairs up the tower. And I was assuming we were going to get the lift, but when we were booking, you were like, yeah, we'll take the stairs. I was like, oh, really? And
because I just remember I went there with my family when I was a kid, and I remember we took the stairs, and in my mind I was like, yeah, it was really fun. Like, it was great. Let's take the stairs again. Like, it's a great experience.
And you were like, oh, it's a good way to get the word out there. Oh, sorry, no, wait, sorry. What am I saying? No, it's a good way to get the view, take in the view. Yeah. Sorry, I've just got distracted by my watch. It's a good way to like take in the views and everything, and just take a look at everything around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, and like then when we got there, we were so tired and everything from the day. Yeah. Then we're like, oh, I wish we could just get the lift. And so we went in, and I asked the lady, can we like just sort of pay the difference between the lift and the stair ticket and get the lift? She's like, no. Like the French people were like really short and stuff. She's like, nope, they're non-refundable tickets. That's what you got. And I'm like, yeah, but can't we just pay the difference? Like what difference does it make to you? She's like, no, you can't do that. And I was like, I wanted to just be like, okay, what if we just give you like $20? Can you just give us a lift ticket? Like personally give you. Then yeah, it didn't work. And so we took the stairs, but it wasn't even that bad.
Yeah, no. In hindsight, it was actually fine. I think when we were doing it, we were like, what have we done? But then it was fine.
Yeah, there's not even that many steps. But there's a stop in the middle where we got a drink, took some photos. Then we went up, sort of watched the sunset from the top of the tower, which was really beautiful. And the views are incredible. And Paris is like really flat all around the city as well, which is like interesting to see. But that was really nice. Yeah. That was really fun, and the sunset and everything. But it was getting cold up there by that point. And we didn't have jackets or anything. And then I think we left, and again, there's all these like, not necessarily scammers, but just like people selling shit and trying to like
mini Eiffel Tower keyrings.
Yeah, and people like trying to put wristbands on your arms and shit, and like that guy who was down at the bottom, and I was like, he came up to me, he's like, hey, how are you? And I'm like, nope. And he was like, no, Hakuna Matata, man, Hakuna Matata. Like he was trying to like give us one of those wristbands or some shit. And then we went to Macca's. Do you remember? We went to Macca's that night. Yeah. Then we went home to the hotel. And then what else did we do in Paris? Because we were planning on going to Versailles and somewhere
doing
else.
Doing like a bike tour in Versailles. But that didn't happen.
Because of just how you were feeling and stuff, we were just like, we'll just stay in Paris.
The Saturday we went out on the bus again, the hop on, hop off bus.
Oh, did we?
Yeah. And do you remember we got off at the Champs-Élysées, and then I bought a coat because it was cold, and then we went and had a picnic. Yeah. We got some bread and cheese.
In the park, we got bread and cheese and ham. Yeah, that was really nice. And I got sushi. And then, yeah, that was all right. Like, that was fun. We got to sit on the top of the bus that time because it's like a double-decker bus and it wasn't raining. And then I guess because I guess the thing was because you were sick, we just like sort of didn't get to do as much as we wanted
feeling up to doing anything.
Did we do anything else?
We went out for dinner that night.
Is that when we went to the Japanese place?
No, the Japanese place was the night after.
This is the pub?
Yeah.
Where she thought I was Italian?
Yeah.
So I was speaking in French because I was trying to just order in French and stuff. So I was speaking to the waitress. And like when we left, I had duck, you had steak.
We swapped
halfway. It was quite nice. And then I remember when we left, because I'd been speaking French, the waitress said, oh, ciao, grazie, right? Which is Italian. And I was like, oh, she just said ciao, grazie, which is Italian. And then you had a theory on that.
That maybe because you speak a little bit of Italian, like your family's Italian.
Yeah.
Maybe your French accent had like a bit of an Italian twang.
And what was your example? Someone else? Is it your mum?
No. Kristen's mum, who
is one of our friends
from Germany, but had been learning Spanish. And her Spanish, like she's like knows a lot of Spanish, but she says everything still with a German accent.
Yeah. So
it doesn't really sound Spanish.
So Claire thinks that my French to this waitress and I don't know if this is a real phenomenon, but like the way I speak French sounded like an Italian speaking French, which does make sense because I guess I am Italian. So maybe it's just like the way I speak is naturally like comes out that way. But like she must have thought I was Italian because of what she said.
Yeah.
And then we did that, went home. We watched a bit of Coco, the Pixar movie, which is so nice. Like what a good movie. Yeah. Spanish, Mexican. Did you like that movie?
Yeah,
we finished
really
it on the plane and you cried.
Yeah, I did.
Remember me, though I have to say goodbye. Do you remember that song?
Yeah, it's cute.
Remember that song.
And then the next day I was like, I need to do nothing. Like I woke up and I just still felt so crap. So I was
I do anything?
I just need to have a day in. And that's the day that I went and did our laundry at the laundromat.
Oh, that's right. We went to the laundromat. Yeah.
I think you were not feeling great that day either.
Yeah.
So
we did nothing that day.
It was just a very low key day. We did our laundry. I went to a bakery.
Yeah. Good times.
You went and got Japanese that night.
Yeah, we got Japanese for dinner that night.
You got Japanese. I just watched you eat it.
Because you weren't hungry. Now I'm going to make a big call. That salmon nigiri that I had in Paris that night was the best salmon I've ever had in my life. It was just like the creamiest, like butteriest, just freshest, most beautiful tasting salmon I've ever had. I want to go back there. Like that was the best food I had the whole trip, I think. What do you reckon the best food we had the whole trip was?
Well, I was actually just thinking, I can't remember which day it was. One morning, do you remember we walked past like a boulangerie?
Yeah, a boulangerie.
And we got some like pastries and like a little cake thing.
Yeah.
And then we sat in that like near that playground.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we
yeah.
ate it.
I remember that. That was nice.
That was yum.
But that wasn't
you
like
didn't
a
eat
meal.
much. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, but it was all, yeah. Food
I don't know. I really liked the duck that we had the night before.
Oh, yeah. That crispy kind of that crispy duck kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. The salmon nigiri was just amazing. And then I think that was the last night. Was that the
Well, then we went to Disneyland the next morning.
Then we went to Disneyland. So how long has this been? Yeah, this has been 28 minutes. So basically, went to sleep and then we parked and we were so glad to be out of that hotel.
Yeah, it was
like, fuck this place, burn it to the ground.
Well,
fuck
don't
it.
say burn it to the ground. That's
No,
not
in
nice.
like a joking way, like as a metaphor. Like a metaphor.
Okay.
Just a metaphor.
Okay.
And then we were supposed to get the train to Disneyland. But the thing is, like, we wanted to get to Disneyland early so we could have the whole day there. And when we woke up and went outside, I was just like, let's just get an Uber to Disneyland. Yeah. So we just got an Uber and it was like $100, but it was worth it because Disneyland was one of the highlights of the whole trip.
Yeah.
But you'll have to wait till next week to hear all about that. Ooh, that's called a tease.
Oh.
Yeah. In like the industry.
Showbiz.
You'd be like,
Showbiz,
and find
baby.
out what happened at Disneyland next week. We'll see you then. No, but Paris was a lower point of the trip, I guess, just because of like being sick and stuff. Don't you reckon?
Like it's such a beautiful city, but I was not feeling it.
Yeah, but the doctor was in.
The doctor was in.
The doctor was in Paris, which is always good. And then, yeah. Well, Claire, thanks for joining me again.
Anytime.
How do we do our classic sign off?
Until next time.
No, it's see you next time.
See you next time.
See you next time, guys. Woo! Party! No, but next week, Disneyland, the best things we did, and like the whole Disneyland experience was awesome. So tune in for that. See ya! Bye!
Bye.
This podcast is a Radio Mike original production. Head to radiomike.com.au to find out more.